Good morning, friends. Man, what a perfect day to sit down and edit this video. I don't know if you can hear the birds in the background, but they are singing and chirping, and it is just such a beautiful day outside, nice and sunny, nice and warm. And yeah, I want to thank you guys for being here with me today to watch this very old video of mine. I pulled it out of the archives. I did this back in August of 2023. I made this cake for a friend of mine. She was celebrating her two beautiful girls' birthday, and she was also celebrating her own on the down low. So we were celebrating all three of them at the same exact time, and she had just recently seen a cake that I had done that was Alison Wonderland themed, and she loved it so much she asked me to create this cake for her. But I went above and beyond because she is oh so deserving of this cake, and I feel so blessed to have been able to create it for her. If you guys had watched my last video, you'll know that she has since passed Sunday a week ago, and I took it very hard. It was very difficult for me to accept her passing. It was so sudden. I am not sure why I never posted this video, but I'm kind of glad that I have the chance to do it now. So if you're interested in watching me create this Alison Wonderland cake in her honor and in memory of her, please stick around and hang out with me today while I show you step by step how I made it. There is a total of 6 cakes that I made, all varying in different sizes, different shapes, different widths, different flavors, different fillings. Everything is it was just a big cake. I did a lot here. So I'm not going to show you every single step that I did, otherwise this video would be super long. But just to give you an idea of how I stacked and filled and crumb coated and did final coats on them is basically what you're going to see in this part of the video. Also, you're going to notice that there's a lot of flaws, a lot of mistakes made while making this cake, which is probably part of the reason why I haven't posted it, was because I wasn't too confident in my work. I don't know why I get like that, but sometimes I do. But you know, the one thing that I kept telling myself while I was making this cake is that it is an Alison Wonderland cake, which is very animated. So even though it was unintentional, I would imagine that a cake made in an animated movie would be very topsy-turvy. I mean, when you think of Alice in Wonderland, I think even, what movie was it? Beauty and the Beast? No, I think it was Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, they made a cake. I can't remember what other animated old classic cartoon movie made a cake, but it wasn't perfect. You know, it's meant to be topsy-turvy and animated looking, so I just kept going with it, and by the time that I was finished with it, I actually really liked it. And you guys, when I delivered this cake, you should have seen the look on her face and her mom and all the kids. They were stunned. They have never seen a cake quite like this before. Neither have I, to be honest with you. And so that made me feel so much better, and when I went to deliver, I had to do the final touches on it, so you won't see that part either because I didn't get that on camera. But while I was doing that, they were like, there's more, there's more. And when I finally finished it, they were like, I can't believe you did this for us. This is so amazing. Thank you so much. You know, they were so grateful, and it made all of the stress that I put into this cake so worth it. And I felt so proud of myself for accomplishing this style of cake and being able to drive it through a dirt road and up a big hill, and it made it all in one piece. Oh my gosh, I still can't believe why I never posted this video. I don't understand. But maybe it was meant to happen this way. Maybe I was supposed to wait for the perfect moment to post this video. You know, God works in mysterious ways. I truly do believe that. And so yeah, I'm gonna try not to break down in tears here, guys. I need a moment. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys finish watching how I ice all of these cakes. Good morning, guys. I have to be a little bit quiet because my kids are still asleep. It's like almost 6 in the morning, and I wanted to get a head start, so I figured I would work on the edible images. Now, since I don't have a printer, I have to do everything by hand. So I have some edible sugar sheets here. I get mine off Amazon. Also, I printed to the size that I need on regular blank paper. So I have the cat from Alison Wonderland. You'll see what I do with this later. I have Alice in the Mad Hatter and the teapot with the little mouse in it. And then I'm gonna try and recreate something similar to this. It's not gonna look exactly like this, but I'm gonna try and replicate it so that it looks cute on the open book. So let's go ahead and get started. I also have this I borrowed from my kids. I'm gonna clean it. It has a little light on it, so it's gonna project through when I lay the paper down, and I put the sugar sheet over it, and I can go outline it this way. Here's my fresh sugar sheet. And it's really important to mention to leave the backing on, the plastic backing. You don't want to take that off yet. So I'm just going to line it up. Hopefully this is not too small. It'll come out fine. It's going to be okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a black marker that has a very fine tip on it, and I'm going to do all the outlining. Okay, well, it's not perfect, but it's gonna do. It's gonna work. So that's just the outlining. Now let's color this in. If I need to, I might do some watercolor. It just depends how dark these markers are. Sometimes they can be a little bit too bold. So sometimes I do like to use watercolor, which I just mix vodka and gel food coloring together to give me that watercolor effect. But I'm going to try with markers first and see where that gets me. I already see something that I have forgotten here. I think that I can do this by hand. Let's see. I'm not looking for perfection because this is going to get covered anyway. I just wanted to give it an illusion that the book is opened. But yeah, let's go ahead and bring it to life and see how it's going to look once it's all colored in. Actually, to save a little bit of time from not having to mix gel food coloring together with vodka, I'm
gonna try and mix a little bit of water. And when I say a little bit, I mean a tad bit. Just enough to get the tip of the brush wet. And you don't want to overly saturate the paper because it'll start to fall apart. But to give it that lighter effect and like a watercolor look to it, I'm just going to ever so lightly blend my marker in with this brush and some water to kind of lighten the color a little bit. And this is also how you can erase things if you make mistakes, but it is a little harder to fix that. So I'm just gonna go with that and keep going. I've decided that I'm going to work on this book and put it back in the refrigerator, and then I'm gonna go on from there. I'm not sure what I'm doing after this, but the first thing that I want to do is mix some vodka with some gold luster dust. I got this off Amazon, and it is the Sugar Art brand. I really like this brand. It works pretty good. So I'm just gonna mix that together. And I'm going to use that with a fan brush like this, and I'm just going to paint the pages with it. This kind of reminds me of those old school books. I don't like the Goldstein Bear books where they had like the gold pages or lined pages. That's what this is reminding me of. After all, Alice in Wonderland is pretty old, so we want to give it like a vintage look. And you want to do this while it's really cold so that the buttercream stays in place and doesn't get too soft on you. So this is why I didn't really care so much about the cake peeking through, because I was going to color it anyway and it was going to be not that noticeable. I need a cake riser. Okay, so now I'm gonna roll out some fondant and put a piece of fondant on the top, just the top pages. So I try to roll it out as thin as possible, but don't worry about it being, don't be too meticulous about it. It's not gonna really matter that much, but I don't want the pages to be too like boxy looking. I want them to have character to them. So they're not gonna be perfect no matter what you do. And you could pinch the edges to kind of give them that ruffled look and pull a little bit to elongate it so that it fits the page. And this will be going back in the refrigerator, so that's why I didn't use any water to attach it with, because it will attach itself with the condensation of the cake naturally. There's one side, and then I'm just going to do the other side exactly the same. I'm not going to worry about the back side, even though it overlaps just a tiny bit, but you're not going to see that part of the cake anyway, so there's no point in trying to fix that. But what I am going to do is I am going to fix the gold part of here. See, the icing is already getting a little soft. I think that looks cute. I have a little bit of cocoa powder and a big brush. Try to get as much of that cocoa off as you can. And I'm just gonna like dab the pages with it, just to kind of give it that rustic look. The next cake that I'm going to work on is the very bottom tier. Normally what I would do is I would stack all of my cakes, but I need all of my cakes to be in the refrigerator as much as possible, just to ensure that the icing isn't too soft and the cake doesn't start drooping. So I want to do this in layers and just put them back in the refrigerator as often as possible. So what I'm going to do with this one is I have some white hearts here. I'm going to layer them essentially from the bottom up like this, all the way around the cake. If they're not sticking, just use a little bit of water. So I have decided to tier this single cake here. So I'm just gonna make a mark all the way around. Normally I would use bubble straws, but I couldn't find any. So I'm gonna use these. These are balloon straws that you can get from the Dollar Tree. And I'm gonna fill all the way around. I'm leaving the center without one because I'm gonna put a dowel rod all the way down through the center of the cake for extra support, and that one's gonna be a wooden dowel rod. So the back side has a little bit of a gap, so I want to make sure wherever I lifted this cake from, I want that to be the back side, which I think it was right here. And I just want to make sure that it's in the same spot that I made those borders without disrupting the icing. I think that's pretty good. Oh, that looks nice. Okay, I'm also going to put supports in this one as well. But I'm going to wait because I want to continue working on the other cakes before I stack that. So I'm going to give that a minute. I'm going to put this back in the refrigerator and I'm going to start working on something else. I have my other book cake here and I've already colored the sides with the gold luster dust. I like it, and I've already cut out a piece of thick fondant, probably a good 1/8 of an inch or a little bit larger. And now I'm just going to place it on the top of this book. And I do use rulers. If it's a little bit too form-fitting, you can use your fondant smoother to push it outwards. So I'm just pulling the fondant out to the edge until I am happy with how it looks. Okay, so now for the backing, I am going to use a tiny toilet paper roll and I'm going to cut this in half. Make sure you tell the people that this is not edible. I mean, I'm not going to really worry about this anyway because no one's going to eat this part of the fondant. I just want to make sure that the icing doesn't sit straight flat up against the bottom of the cake or the side of the cake. So I'm going to use this as a guide and I'm just going to kind of like dig it in there. Okay, so now that we got that on there, I'm just going to cut a piece of fondant the size of this and I'm going to drape it over. To be quite honest, I wasn't sure if that Mad Hatter cake was going to come out right. So I wasn't going to put it on camera, but I'm kind of glad that I did record it because it actually came out better than I thought. And I'm not liking all of the cake that's being seen through here, and I really don't want to have to cover this in fondant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and spray paint it and see how it looks afterwards. Plus, I kind of want a deeper pink color anyway. And I can't really achieve those really dark, vibrant colors with the Wilton colors that I have. So let's see how well this works. Our humidity levels are pretty high right now. So I think that's why my icing is pretty soft. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get a really awesome buttercream. Sometimes you have to work with a really soft buttercream. You just got to pray every single time that it's going to come out right. Let's go ahead and get the top here. Do not spill. All right. Wish me luck, guys. So I'm gonna actually chill this back in the refrigerator. I'm gonna let all of my cakes chill completely. I'm gonna clean up around the kitchen, and then we're gonna stack the two, but we're gonna stack half and half so that when I go to deliver, the cakes are not all in one piece. And we're back. So I'm gonna finish making my toppers here. These ones are a little bit smaller than the other ones, so these ones are gonna be a little harder to replicate, especially this one, because she's kind of blurry, but it was the best picture I could find on Google. So all I did was I copied and pasted this onto a Google Word, and I sized them to how big I want them to be on the cake. So let's go ahead and wait for Jonathan's butter to stop burning. Oh, and then the cat, I made it a tad bit bigger than the rest of them because he's gonna be like the centerpiece on the top or the bottom tier of the cake. This is a big cake, you guys. This one is probably my biggest cake yet, so I'm really hoping that this all turns out well. I got my handy dandy illuminator, whatever you want to call this. Let's get to work.
Oh boy, I didn't realize that I had actually recorded the entire process of creating these. Since I already shown you how I did the book part of it, there's really no need for me to explain exactly what I did here or show you all the steps because this took me probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours to finish. But what I do want to say is that if you are going to use this kind of technique and you have one of these illuminator things, I don't even know what they're called, but if you have one of these, it's so much better to work in the dark when you're doing this. So make sure to shut your lights off. It makes it so much easier to see the picture underneath and to follow. And I want to say this is probably my favorite ever thing to do when making cake. I actually, unless it's like a picture of someone or something that I really can't draw, I really love outlining and tracing and creating characters by hand. And it's a good way to get certain fonts too. It makes the cake feel handmade for one, and for two, it's just so therapeutic. There's just something about it. I love spending time doing this. So it's up to you if you like this kind of thing. It's so much easier to just order them. Like you can have someone print them for you. And you could just put them on some fondant and call it a day. But I really do suggest that if you love working with your hands just as much as I do, I really suggest trying this out. It just gives it a more homemaking feel. But it is definitely a really long process. So I could have created a whole video on this alone, and maybe I should start doing that since I do this quite often. You guys will have to let me know if you like watching stuff like this.
Now that we got that done, I am going to cut them all out, and I'm gonna cut it with the backing off. First I'm gonna cut like this, and then I'm gonna take the backing off, and then I'm gonna cut the sugar sheet, making sure to be really careful not to cut too quickly, otherwise your icing sheet will tear. And these are gonna act like figurines, like two-dimensional figurines on my cake. So I'm just gonna continue doing this, and then I'm gonna apply it to my fondant. Don't use too much water because your sugar sheet is very soft and pliable. And when you buy your sugar sheets, keep them in the foil. Otherwise they will dry out and they will become useless. But because they come in that foil piece, I keep it closed, shut tightly. It has lasted me for a year now, and I still have tons of sugar sheets left. So they do last quite a while, but you gotta really take care of them. To start decorating the unbirthday cake, And I'm gonna place toothpicks where I plan on putting the flowers. Now I'm gonna mark where I'm gonna start the pearls. And it looks like it's on every other flower. And then I'm gonna put a toothpick right in the center of the cake where I want the pearls to drop. So I'm using these as a guide, trying to align with the toothpicks here too, so that they're the same.
Okay, I just have to stop right there because this is part of the cake that I didn't particularly care for when it came to making the borders. They came out very crooked, and if it wasn't for the fact that it was Alice in Wonderland, and I'm not really too picky about how aesthetic it looks since it's going to be kind of like an animated cake, I wouldn't really worry about it. But the fact is that if I were to do this for a normal cake that is supposed to be uniform, I probably would try a totally different approach. First of all, I'm using that store-bought icing. I wish I would have used regular buttercream, but I think that I had run out. And so instead of making an entire batch, I just decided to use store-bought because it was just so much easier and I was already running out of time. That is why the icing is peaking like that. It's because it's got all of those chemicals and stuff in it, and it really doesn't even taste good. But anyway, as far as the pearl borders, I like the approach that I took with it, but I think that I needed to be more on the level side. Like I need to be more down, leveled with the cake so I can see what I'm doing, because this part is a lot harder than I thought, and I don't really do this kind of technique very often. So if you don't get it on the first try, don't feel bad about it. I mean, it's not as easy as it looks. I mean, Buddy Valastro is the king of borders and buttercream decorations. So, like, I'm sure it took him a long time to master this. So just take your time, and on your first try, you're not going to get it, but over time, it will get better and better. Just keep practicing. I think next time I do something like this, instead of doing it free-handed, I would still use the toothpicks, but I would probably use a piece of string to guide me and make sure that my markings are 100% correct.
You could also use a pearl mold with fondant pearls, but I'm like on a crunch time right now, so this is a lot easier for me than having to pull out my mold and do all that, and sometimes it can be very finicky and the fondant doesn't want to come out, so this is why I'm doing it this way. It's just a lot faster. It's not as pretty, but it's gonna get the job done. Looks like we're done there. See, it doesn't look so bad. It looks nice. And then when I go to stack it onto the cake, I'm gonna put borders around the bottom too.
Alright guys, well I guess this is it. I guess it wasn't as complicated as I remember it being, although I will say that it was all going pretty good up until the end when I couldn't figure out how in the heck I was going to stack all 6 tiers together while really showcasing the beauty of them all. However, coming back to this video 8 months later, I was pleasantly surprised with my experience. It was like watching someone else make this cake, and it made me happy. Ashley was a beautiful person with an amazing spirit who found faith in me and just about everyone else that she knew. And she knew that I could pull this cake off and gave me full reins of this design and allowed me to use all of my creativity. And I was blessed to share that moment with her. Even if I didn't believe in myself, she did. Well, I believe in myself now, Ashley. Thank you. There's a part of you that I will forever hold in with me now. When I showed up with this cake, she couldn't believe her eyes. So much so that she didn't want to cut into it. I had to explain to her that I love seeing the inside of the cakes too, but she refused to cut into the book. She wished that she could keep it forever. I wish you could have kept it forever too. But I'm going to end it on this note. I'm sure you've heard the expression, here today, gone tomorrow. It's in a lot of songs, it's written in many books, and it's so true. And it sucks when it happens on any given day. So please cherish everyone around you, spread love and kindness, and learn to accept people's compliments. Believe in yourself because we never know when our time is up. By the time that this video is uploaded on April 24th, it is my actual birthday, and I want to share it with the remembrance of her and to signify the appreciation of knowing her. If you guys stuck it out till the very end and you watched this entire video from start to finish, I want to thank you so much. I know that it was a long video and I really didn't expect it to be so long, but there really was a lot going on with this cake. 6 entire tiers. It took me days to put this together, so 38 minutes is nothing compared to how much time I actually put into it. If anything, I hope that you took some inspiration from this video. Thanks again for being here. You guys are amazing. You guys are my diamonds. I love you, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.